So we're going to interview Bairbre de Brún, MEP, about climate change. Where was she there a couple of weeks ago? She was over in Poznan, and we're going to interview her. Ask her. Okay.
My name is Bairbre de Brún, and I'm a member of the European Parliament for the North of Ireland. I'm actually in the European Parliament in Strasbourg today, talking to you from the European Parliament after we passed a landmark first step legislation today on tackling climate change, and having just returned from the United Nations Climate Change Conference in Poznan as part of the European Parliament's delegation.
The first question is, what hopes and fears do you have after the UN conference on climate change at Poznan?
My hope is that a global agreement can be reached in Copenhagen in 2009 in order to have a new climate regime by which countries across the world agree on how they will tackle climate change, how they will reduce emissions in order to prevent further climate damage, and how they will help countries to adapt to the inevitable climate change that is already going to happen because of actions taken historically. My greatest fear, I suppose, is that we have left it a little late. Poznan, there was some good progress made in Poznan, but some of the richer countries didn't engage in the early part as actively as I would have liked to see them do. Part of the problem, I suppose, was that the United States still had the old negotiators there, because Barack Obama doesn't take over until January 2009, and the EU didn't manage to. We only voted our climate legislation today, so both of those big blocs, who should have been very positively moving forward, it will really only be in the new year that we'll see some of the progress we need to see. So very important now that in the new year we build on what was agreed at Poznan was a good, strong work timetable.
Okay, yeah.
So the richer countries really need to step up the pace and the momentum of that work timetable in 2009. And there was also an adaptation fund agreed, okay. But we can build on that, and I can talk to that maybe in answer to some of your other questions.
Yeah.
So, in your opinion, does Poznan prepare us for a deal at Copenhagen 2009?
It does, to an extent. It's a good. The work programme certainly lays out the steps in terms of the timescale, the kind of meetings that will take place, and the issues that need to be addressed. There will probably need to be another high-level meeting, including ministers, between Poznan and Copenhagen, even more than was planned in the work programme. And I suspect perhaps in October that they might come together again, to ensure that the work is really carried out. So the major questions really are ones of finance. We made a start with the adaptation fund. The EU also made a first step today in putting into legislation particulars around the kind of finance that might come from some of the measures put in place today. That would be a start, but only a start. So the European Commission is to bring forward in early 2009 proposals for raising the scale of finance that's really going to be needed, particularly to help developing countries both adapt to climate change that's happening, and what the better off developing countries, known as the emerging economies, develop their economies in a sustainable way rather than developing them with old, dirty technology. There's nothing on the table from the richer countries at present that meet that challenge. There are some proposals, but at a much lower level of finance. Norway has come forward with some good ideas. Mexico has come forward with some good ideas. So there were things that were being generally talked about but not solidly negotiated, and that needs to happen. And I think now that the EU has put very concrete targets into legislation on how to reduce emissions, other major countries need to do the same as well. Even though I would be unhappy that maybe our targets weren't as strong as I'd like them to have been.
Thank you very much. I've been Martina Caterina.
And I've been Ben Preston. Thanks for watching wimps.org.uk.